200 witnesses. An 11-year-old boy disappears from inside his sleeping bag, 200 people around him. Nobody sees a thing. Title: The Boy Who Vanished from 200 Witnesses, 22 years. His name is Nicky Verstappen. He is 11 years old, gap-toothed smile, dark eyes that his mother says light up whenever he talks about football. He lives in Brunsum, a small town in Limburg, in the southern Netherlands, the kind of place where parents still let their kids ride bikes to the edge of town alone. The kind of place where nothing like this is supposed to happen. It is August 1998. Summer is loud and alive. Nicky has been looking forward to this week for months. A youth camp on the Brunsummerheid Heath, a sprawling wilderness of purple heather and pine forest stretching between Brunsum and Landgraaf. He packs his bag himself. His mother, B, watches him go. At camp, Nicky is surrounded by friends. There are more than 200 children and supervisors sleeping in tents and temporary shelters across the campsite. The night of August 10th is warm. The kind of summer night where you fall asleep on top of your sleeping bag, not inside it. Nicky settles down. The camp grows quiet. Sometime in the night, between darkness and the first gray light of August 11th, Nicky Verstappen vanishes. No scream. No struggle. No sound at all. His sleeping bag is empty when the other children wake up. His shoes are still there. His belongings untouched. It is as if the darkness simply swallowed him whole, and the 200 people sleeping within meters of him heard absolutely nothing. The camp supervisors begin searching at first light. By morning, the police are called. The Brunsummerheid is dense. Pine trees closing over narrow paths, heather thick at ground level, the kind of terrain where a person can disappear 10 meters from a trail and never be seen from it. Search teams fan out across the heath. Volunteers join. The hours stretch. At approximately 6:30 p.m. on August 11th, searchers find Nicky's body in the woods near Landgraaf. He is 1.2 kilometers from the campsite. He has been gone less than 24 hours. It feels like a lifetime. The signs left on his body tell investigators what happened. Nicky was subjected to a sexual assault. He was silenced manually, the kind of force that takes deliberate, sustained effort and close physical proximity. Whoever did this looked an 11-year-old boy in the face and chose to end him. Detectives process the scene with everything available in 1998. They collect trace evidence from Nicky's clothing. They recover a partial DNA profile from material found on him, incomplete, fragmented, but real. Biological proof that someone else was there. The problem is that in 1998, that partial profile matches no one in the Dutch criminal database. Not a single person. The investigation begins in earnest and hits a wall almost immediately. Detectives interview everyone at the camp, 200 children and supervisors, every one of them questioned. No one saw a stranger. No one heard anything unusual. No vehicle was reported near the campsite. No witnesses emerged from the surrounding heath. The Brunsummerheid is a public area, regularly used by hikers and cyclists, but in the dark hours of August 10th and 11th, it seems to have been completely empty of everyone except Nicky and the person who took him. The partial DNA profile becomes the investigation's spine, the one hard fact in a case built almost entirely of absence. Investigators run it against databases. No match. They expand their search. No match. They test individuals who come to their attention as potential suspects over the years. Each time, the profile rules them out rather than in. Nicky's parents, B and Jos Brech, live inside this absence for years. Every tip that comes in raises hope and then extinguishes it. Every time police knock on their door, there is a fraction of a second where the world might finally make sense again. And then it doesn't. The case does not go cold in the sense of being forgotten. Dutch police continue working it. The National Criminal Investigation Service maintains it as an active priority. But without a DNA match, without a witness, without a name, the investigation circles the same ground over and over, finding nothing new. Years become a decade. A decade becomes two. August 2018. 20 years have passed since Nicky disappeared from his sleeping bag. His parents are older. His name is still known across the Netherlands. one of those cases that a country carries collectively, a wound that does not close. Then forensic technology changes everything. Dutch investigators, working in collaboration with international forensic specialists, apply a technique that did not exist in 1998 and barely existed even a few years earlier: genetic genealogy. The same methodology that had recently broken open the Golden State Killer case in the United States. The principle is this: you do not need to find the suspect's DNA in a criminal database. You need to find their relatives. The partial DNA profile from Nicky's clothing is uploaded to genealogical databases that hold genetic information from thousands of ordinary people who submitted samples to trace their family histories. The algorithm searches not for an exact match, but for partial matches, cousins, second cousins, distant relatives who share segments of genetic material with the unknown suspect. The search returns hits. Investigators begin constructing family trees, working outward from partial matches, tracing branches and generations, cross-referencing with birth records and public documents. It is painstaking work. It takes months. The trees converge on a name: Jos Brech, born in 1954. A Dutch man with a history of living and working in the Limburg region. A man whose family connections, when mapped against the DNA evidence, place him squarely within the biological profile of the unknown suspect. A man who, investigators soon establish, was known to frequent the Brunsummerheid heath, the same stretch of heather and pine forest where Nicky vanished and where his body was found. But there is a problem. Jos Brech cannot be found. By the time investigators are ready to bring him in for a direct DNA test, the test that would confirm or rule out what the genealogical evidence is pointing toward, Brech has disappeared. He is located eventually in Spain, in the wilderness of the Pyrenees, living rough, far from any city. When authorities close in August 2018, they find a man who has been living off-grid, isolated, as if he has been waiting for something to catch up with him. He is taken into custody. A direct DNA sample is collected. It matches. The partial profile recovered from Nicky Verstappen's clothing in 1998, the profile that matched no one for 20 years, matches Jos Brech. The news breaks across the Netherlands like a physical shock. 20 years of silence, broken by science that didn't exist when Nicky was alive. A name, finally, after 2 decades of nothing. Nicky's mother speaks publicly. She has carried this for 20 years. She has never stopped. The Netherlands has never stopped. Jos Brech is extradited to the Netherlands and formally charged. From the beginning, he maintains his innocence. He does not deny being in the area. He does not deny knowing the heath. But he denies any involvement in what happened to Nicky Verstappen on the night of August 10, 1998. The case proceeds toward trial. Investigators lay out the architecture of their evidence: the DNA match, the genealogical methodology that identified him, his documented familiarity with the Brunsummerheid, the absence of any alternative explanation for how his biological material ended up on the clothing of a murdered 11-year-old boy. Brech's defense challenges the forensic methodology. Genetic genealogy is new. It has never been tested in a Dutch court before. The defense argues that the science, however compelling, leaves room for doubt. That a partial match traced through distant relatives cannot carry the same certainty as a direct database hit. That the chain of logic, however carefully constructed, is not the same as an eyewitness, not the same as a confession, not the same as irrefutable physical placement at the scene. The Dutch court disagrees. In 2021, Jos Brech is convicted of the abduction, sexual assault, and killing of Nicky Verstappen. He is sentenced to 12.5 years in prison, a sentence that shocks many in the Netherlands, who feel the weight of it against 22 years of waiting. The legal system has its constraints. The sentence reflects them. Verstappen, Nicky's mother, has said that no sentence could ever feel adequate. That what she wanted was not years in a cell but a reason. An explanation. Something that made the night of August 10, 1998, make sense in human terms. Brech has never provided that. Through his trial, through his conviction, through his appeals, he has not explained what happened on the Brunsummerheid. He has not described what led him to a sleeping 11-year-old boy among 200 people. He has not said why. That question, the why, remains unanswered. Jos Brech sits in a Dutch prison today. His conviction stands. The DNA matched. The genealogical tree was accurate. 22 years of silence were broken by science and by the dogged refusal of a family, a police force, and an entire country to let a boy's name fade. But Nicky's parents still do not know what happened in the minutes after their son closed his eyes on the night of August 10th. They do not know if he woke up. They do not know what he felt. The case file answers who. It does not answer how a man moves through 200 sleeping people and takes a child without a single witness. 200 people. Not one sound. How does that happen? What do you think? Is there something about that night we still don't know? Backhand index pointing down.